So, good morning. And today I'm going to talk about filtering in different ways, and that in order to enhance the images. This is, I would say, traditional image processing that you can learn in also image processing classes, but I want to give you an overview of different filtering types and what you can achieve with them. And well, it goes back to convolution theory, Fourier transforms a little bit. I'm not going to go into the deep math, but at least you will see one or few of these equations in between. So, little bit overview here. We have, as I said, going to talk about filtering, and for that there is, I would say, two books that I would recommend. Again, John Ross always shows nice examples, and if you want to go more into the topic of image processing, Bernd Jenne's book is really a good place to go. Then, let's see if I can bring it up. No, I can't. If you want to look at orientations, that's actually hidden down here in the bottom. There is a book by Joseph Biggen called Vision with Directions, which tells how you can analyze images with the traditional approaches to get orientations from the images. And of course, we need our set of modules to run the different cells in the notebook. So let's come to the motivation. And when you do a measurement, actually any measurement, you always have something that comes in between that disturbs your signal that you want to see. The only way to get a perfect image is to produce it digitally in the computer, where you have ones and zeros. But otherwise, if you measure, you always have some distortion. So first we have some blurring, because you have an optical system, maybe a combination of different components like scintillators or lenses, even camera, and all these components introduce some level of blurring. Then we have also noise of different types. So we have uncorrelated noise, so every measurement position has some fluctuation, which is caused by, could be counting statistics from the source. It could be also thermal noise from the detectors, etc. What you also can have is texture noise, and that is like more a blurred version of the noise. It has a lower frequency component in it. And on top of these noise types, we also have artifacts coming from different effects in the measurement. So in tomography, we have ring artifacts and line artifacts, for example. And once all these artifacts are included and noise, then we get the image that we measure. And as you can see, it's not really as nice as what you would have expected from the sample you put in the beam or in the measurement system. So, given what we get, we need to do something to be able to analyze the images. And things that we have that affect the image quality are, first of all, the resolution. It actually limits what you can see at all. Then we have noise, we have contrast, which is actually related to what you have in your image. So in some cases, you don't have very much contrast between the objects. Looking at, for example, muscles and fat tissue, it's harder to distinguish those compared to if you look at a bone in the image. And another problem that I didn't mention in the previous slide is inhomogeneous contrast. So depending on the illumination, you have different illuminations in in different parts of the image, and that can be quite annoying actually when you try to work with images, and that is something we also want to fix and remove. There's actually a measurement artifact which also can produce this inhomogeneous contrast. Yeah, and then artifacts. So typically an image processing chain, then you start acquiring your image, then you produce some enhancement, and that is what we're going to do today. And at some point you want to identify different regions in your image, and then we come to the segmentation. Possibly you need to do some post-processing, and then you come to extracting actual information from the images, and then finally you want to bring this into the answers of your investigation. So could be water retention curves, it could be distribution of different features, also in this one. And in these cases, that's more into, this is electrochemistry, looking into a fuel cell. This is looking into a diesel particulate filter, where you want to separate and measure how much soot and ash you have in your particulate filter. Anyway, those are the applications in the end. But coming back to the enhancement. So before we start enhancing our images, I want to introduce a little bit more about the noise and the artifacts. And in principle, a very general description is the noise is the unwanted information that actually disturbs your analysis, and you need to remove it somehow. Typically, we also mainly talking about random contributions, and they can be so strong that they can obscure the image information that we want to see. From the random noise, we have different types, and also with different origins. So we have, first of all, the spatially uncorrelated noise, which is actually every pixel get some fluctuation without considering what happens in the neighbors. Then we have event noise. Here is an example, salt and pepper noise, where you have very strong, point-wise, very strong outliers. And finally, we also have some structured noise, which has a spatial correlation between the values of the noise. Noise models, yes? I'm going to go into detail on it. It's coming. So typically, when you start modeling noise, you're talking about the Gaussian noise model because it's very easy to work with. It's additive noise, and it's very easy to work with, even though the equation maybe look a bit ugly. But mathematically, working with it is very easy. It's easy to make derivatives, computing log likelihood functions. So this is a go-to model when you start modeling noise in images and in signals. And the other good thing is, thanks to the law of the large numbers, most distributions at some time converge into something that is very Gaussian-like. So this is first point to look into when we start modeling with noise. Then we have Poisson noise, which is the type of noise that you see in photon and, or actually particle based modalities. And here you have an intensity dependency, and it's actually also the physically correct for event counting. So in X-rays, in light microscopy, also electron microscopy, neutrons, everybody are actually based on the Poisson model. And the thing is also that this model changes the shape of the distribution depending on how intense the beam is. So you can see here, this one is quite skewed for lambda equal to 3, while if you go to lambda 10,000, it looks almost like a Gaussian, which again brings us back to, in that case, you may be good with the Gaussian model when you work with it. But there are cases when you actually need to go to the exact model to get the best results. Yes?
Intensity dependent, is it like the power of the laser, for example?
Yes. Yes, the power.
So then it's homogeneous.
So it in principle, it's when you increase the power, you increase the intensity, and that means you get more photons. So then you get a higher photon count, and then you shift it towards. So I would guess, I don't work with lasers, so I don't know, but I would guess that you have a very Gaussian-like distribution with the laser. But if you go into the low intensity range, maybe you just look at some scattered events, then you may come back into the Poisson distribution again. So
In the higher one, I have the Gaussian at the higher power, and the lower one.
you have a skewed distribution.
Okay.
So that is the confusion with the Poisson noise, and depending on how you're working with it, if you're working in the high intensity range, life is happy. If you go always when you go into the low intensity range, you have to struggle. For one, that you have a very low signal to noise ratio, a ratio I'm going to mention pretty soon, and the other one that you have this skewed distribution. And to handle that correctly, you need to bring that into your statistical modeling. But first assumption, start with Gaussian, see if it works out for you, and then if sound reasoning, you see that the features you're looking at, they actually come out as you expect them. If you're into the blind mode that you don't know what you expect, then it's harder, of course, to determine. But probably, usually you would have some notion of what you expect to see. And if you get that, I would say you're on the right track. But yeah, it's